Shalom and welcome, Pastor's Wife, to this broadcast dubbed Dear Pastor's Wives or Dear Pastor's Wife. And it's a broadcast, as I told you, whereby we look at the things that are touching on a pastor's wife. And today I want us to talk about something very crucial. As you can see from our broadcast, we have our topic today as who prays for your husband. And the reason why I have brought this to us, it is because it is a very essential and very important matter, but sometimes we do not take it with the seriousness that it deserves. I know sometimes we have been wounded by many things that touches even on our husbands as who are the ministers. And sometimes you are wondering, why is Pastor Carol telling us to pray for our husbands, yet my husband has hurt me so badly, I do not even know how to pray for him. Let me tell you this thing, because I know you know it, that prayer works. And maybe you have tried so many things. You have tried talking, you have tried tantrum, you have tried, consulting, you have tried changing, you have tried all the things that you have heard from our seminars or other places that you need to do as a woman to help this man to be different, especially when things are really not working for you. But let me tell you one thing, that prayer has never failed. Yes, you have prayed and sometimes you have not seen results, but let me tell you, it never goes to waste when you're praying. I thank God because He has given us one thing that is sure, that prayer will never go to waste. One of the things that has happened, which is actually an error, is that as pastors' wives, we have neglected. I know majority of us will agree with me. I know there are those who know and they have been doing it, but majority of us will agree with me that we have failed in the area of praying for our husbands. We have neglected this very noble responsibility that God has given us, that God expects us to do, and we have left it to our intercessors, we have left it to our church members, we have left it to other people, and we assume that they should be praying for their pastor, who is your husband. We have assumed because you had intercessors pray about your husband, you had intercessors or whoever in the church praying so well and wishing their pastor very good and well, and you actually relaxed and you have told yourself, at least he has people who pray for him. I will only pray for myself because there is nobody who prays for me, and I know that he has many people who pray for him. That is a fact, yes. There are many people who might be praying for him. But let me tell you, you are the only true person that can never change. Allow me to put this very well, and I believe that the Spirit of God will help you to understand what I'm saying. I don't know whether you have noted, even in your life, that you have had even friends who are very loyal to you, who are wishing you very well, but at some point they actually backed off, and some of them even fought you. Some of them who really wished you well when you were coming up, the moment you came up or the moment you got out of that circle, the same people who wished you well, they stop wishing you well, and they may not do anything, but they're not wishing you well, or they may even go to an extent of even trying now to undo what they did. I want to tell you, please take up the burden of praying for your husband. Take up the burden of praying for your pastor. Take up the burden of supporting him in prayer. That even when every other person will be hit hard and fail to pray for him, there will be one person that God can count on, and that is you. The reason why sometimes things happen around our pastors who are our husbands, and we don't know, it is because we do not condition ourselves in a place where God can speak to you about this man of God who is actually your pastor. Because sometimes what happens is when you see, say for example, like the intercessors, when they put themselves to pray for their pastor, there are things that will be revealed to them, and they will be able to hear God speak things that they should pray for their pastor. Now, you do not condition yourself in a way that your pastor can actually, so what I'm saying is, sometimes people who will give themselves to pray for something or for a particular matter, they have a way of conditioning themselves to receiving an answer from God, to receiving instructions and directions from God. So what happens when these intercessors and these people in the ministry or friends or whoever it is that prays for your husband, when they go to pray, they will receive an instruction and they will pray for him. And that is why sometimes they will come and say, our pastor is under attack, let us pray. Our church is under attack, let us pray. Because they have given themselves to pray for your husband. But you, God expects that you would also be able to pray for your husband and make sure that whenever you're doing this, you are doing it with a lot of genuinity, you're doing it with a lot of passion, you are doing it with sincerity, that you are actually believing God to reveal to you the things that you should pray for your husband. So when you do that and you put yourself to, you condition yourself to hearing God, that is when the Lord speaks to you and reveals to you some of these things that are hidden, some of these things that are, some of the attacks that the devil is planning against your husband. And sometimes you will be surprised to know that the attack that is being planned is actually being planned through the people that you thought were actually praying for him. So sometimes you will be in trouble. Sometimes you will find yourself in a challenge, yet God really desired that he could reveal it to you. But you are not conditioned in a manner that he would be able to speak to you. Because sometimes when you're praying for him, you are not looking at him as your authority. You're just praying for him just for the sake of praying for him. Let me share something that God made me understand sometime when I was praying. One time I was in prayer and I just decided to pray for my husband, and I was just praying just because I felt, anyway, it is expected of me to commit my family to the Lord. And while I was praying, the Spirit of God ministered to me, and I had this question. So now, because you're praying for your husband, who prays for your pastor? You know, because you're praying for your husband, who prays for your pastor? Whom have you entrusted your pastor with that you expect them to be praying for him, but you don't pray for him, you only pray for your husband? And even as you're praying for your husband, you're praying for him just passively. And you know, that day, those words broke my heart, and I asked God to forgive me, because I have been doing this without knowledge, because I have been assuming because he is an authority, he should be very far and very high from where I am. He doesn't really need and depend on my prayers. If anything, I'm the one who depends on his prayers. And I really apologized to God, and I asked for forgiveness, because I was like, so all this long, who has been praying for my husband? Who has been praying for my pastor? And you know, the Lord kept revealing to me some of the things that were happening in his life. There are times he was very low. There are times he's hit so hard. There are times he's experiencing a lot of hardship in the ministry. There are times he's experiencing so much. But the only thing that I do is tell him all will be well. But what am I doing? What am I doing? Which part am I praying? Not praying, sorry. Which part am I playing to make sure that it will be well for him? Away from just encouraging him, what am I doing? Am I just waiting for him to ask the intercessors to pray for the church because there's some battle? Am I just waiting for him to talk to his partners and tell them that I am actually going through some battles, please pray for me? So do I really pray for him? And I really repented before God, and I committed myself to pray for him. And this is what I did. I decided from that day that I will be praying for my husband. I will never pray for my husband before I have prayed for my pastor. That is one of the things that I purposed in my heart, that I will never pray for my husband before I have prayed for my pastor. And I said, I have acknowledged that he is called. I know that he's supposed to be doing what he's doing. So as long as he's not stable in whatever he is supposed to be doing for the kingdom, he will never be stable as a father, as a husband. He will never be strong as a husband if he's not strong in whatever he's doing for the kingdom. Whatever happens in the kingdom affects our family. Whatever happens in his life as a gospel minister affects our family as well. Praise the name of the Lord. And therefore, I said, before I pray for my husband, I want to be his intercessor as my pastor. So whenever I go before the Lord, I do not go like, God, please remember my husband, the pastor. No, I pray for my pastor. And I said, let me assume into this office of an intercessor for my husband and be that genuine person that even the Lord can count on in me, that he can reveal things to me that that touches on him as my pastor and as a minister of the gospel, not just as a husband. Some of the attacks that we see even in our marriages, they come just because that man is a minister of the gospel. Financial challenges. I have handled so many issues, with pastors' wives when they have issues of the integrity and the issues of immorality and the issues of lies and the issues of, count them, all the things that happen around your husband. As long as he's called, he's a man of God. Kini, meaning the main thing and the root of all that, it is what he does for God. Otherwise, if he wasn't called in the ministry, probably that is not what you'd be dealing with. The challenges you're dealing with now may not be what you're dealing with. But because the devil knows once he hit him in the ministry, he has hit even the family, then he starts there. So why not begin there and make it a priority that I want to pray for my husband as a pastor first before I pray for him as my husband? Because when he is okay as a pastor, then he will be fine as a husband. There are some battles that we will have won. 90% of the battles that we go through will be won at that point of praying for him as a pastor. So for me, I took it upon myself to be his intercessor, and I said, as long as I live and the Lord gives me strength, I will never fail to pray for my husband as my pastor, not as my husband first. Then I'll pray for my husband. So when I go to prayer, I tell God, Father, I bring my pastor to you. I bring his needs to you. I bring the ministry that you have brought to him to you. I declare in Jesus' name that every battle and every arrow that raises against him shall never prevail. I pray for my pastor with a lot of passion. I pray for his businesses. I pray for his family. I pray for his husband, for his wife and the children. You know the way any other person would pray for your husband, their pastor? I pray for him like that, in that manner. And I tell God, I pray for his family. His family will never be ashamed. His children will never be. You see now, I'm praying with a lot of passion because there's that attachment which is special. So I will pray for him, and that prayer will be very genuine. And it is in doing that God has revealed to me so many things that the devil has wanted to do to him. as a man of God, as a gospel minister, and I have been able to stand at the gap. And you see, there are some things that even the intercessors will never tell the pastor, that pastor, we saw this and that. They will only go back and pray. But I will be able to tell him, now, this is what I feel. This is what the Spirit of God is saying. Let us pray about this and that. This is the attack that the devil is planning. And you see, that is how you win most of these battles. So I want to encourage you as a pastor's wife, do not neglect this responsibility of praying for your pastor, who is your husband, because you are the only person that can genuinely, consistently pray for him, and that God can reveal some of the things to you. There are some things that if God reveals to the intercessors, they will never get to him. He will never know how to fight them. That is why sometimes there are things that God will never reveal to them. There are some things that he will never reveal to them, but he can reveal to you if you become his intercessor. But then now when you get this thing, the how of presenting it also matters. And that is what we'll be discussing in our next program. The Lord bless you. The Lord do you well. You have a responsibility. Take up that responsibility. Don't assume that he should be praying for you alone. Sometimes, yes, I know, and we'll be talking about how to pray for ourselves. Because again, we also don't want to just depend on the prayers that others pray for us. But prayer works. My dear sister, my dear mama, my dear friend, a woman of God that is listening and watching this broadcast, I want you to take it upon yourself to be the key intercessor for your husband, the man of God, then to your husband, the man that you got married to. The Lord bless you and do you well. Thank you for watching the Pastor's Wives show. I believe that it's a blessing to you. Share with your friends. Let us learn. If you have any question, please ask. Let us know how we can be able to handle these questions. We will have people that are graced in different areas helping us through some of these questions, and the Lord is going to bless you. Have a blessed time. May God bless you. May God strengthen you. Even when you're praying, sometimes we will pray when we really don't have the strength, but still make a purpose in your heart that a day will not end before you have prayed for your pastor, your husband. A day will not end before you have taken some time. In fact, schedule some time to be praying for him every day, and make sure that regardless of how busy you are, regardless of how you're feeling, regardless of the fight you had with him, you will never fail to pray for your pastor. You can fail to pray for your husband, but praying for your pastor will be very key, because healing your pastor, who is your husband, will also be healing the husband, who is also a pastor. The Lord bless you. My name is Pastor Carol.